one thing about Nordic culture, they keep things very simple. What works? What works and gets the job done? You know, there's some principles: use it or lose it. You've all heard it, right? Use it or lose it. You know, you either use your body or lose it. It's also a good discipline to know because you got some shit you need to lose. You know, so how do you go about using and losing it? And then the next principle comes to me is confuse it and lose it. You can get your internal talk going, man, so you fucking confuse yourself and don't do shit. You know, you get these fancy words and going. An example to me was when I was guiding yoga people up into the Olympics. You know, I was just a mountain guide, and I would ask them, what is it you guys do? So we do yoga. I said, well, what's that? And they go, well, we do asanas. And they said this word asana with such passion. And I just like, fuck, I want to do that. What is it? And so they're like trying to describe it to me and shit. And it came down to me, the asana they were always saying was posture. You're learning to posture. What I want to feel in life, the word I use, I want to have the deepest understanding and the meaning of that. So I trained with the word posture. What is posture? A post. You stand in a post. I learned in the Marines. You learn standing at attention. You stand at this alignment. And then chur, that sound chur, nature, nurture, rapture, adventure. So posturing, that when I would hear the word asana, I get to translate it into posture, but I'm understanding the deep meaning of what this posturing is. And so for me, it was to take those words I use in training into my life and to integrate them in. So I was training with sticks, and then I was doing ropes. And then the next one that came to me was stone. And I was already pretty well trained in powerlifting and a lot of other strength disciplines. But I was up in the mountains and I didn't have weights. I didn't have my barbells. I didn't have, you know, anything like that. But I had stone, and it was the same experience. You know, when you grip a dumbbell or a barbell, you got a 1-inch grip, you know, or 2-inch grip, and you're lifting and doing it. When you go to grab a stone, it takes your grip out wider. And so I started training with all kinds of stones, had odd handholds. And everything you do in doing a stone, like, you know, the standard curl, you know, with barbells, I started doing with exploring, creating new moves. But then I learned to go, if you get this movement going, learn to hold the stone down here and pull yourself down to it and go up and down. It's in and out, in and out. If I hold the stone out here and I'm going like this, now it's moving to it and come back. So you train your body one direction, train it out the other direction as well. So that's what stone was showing me. Then I got into sacking. And I was, you know, no domicile, no houses, nothing like that. I walked away from, I got up one day and left a house with cars, furniture, put on my backpack and took off and went to explore training. That was my life goal. I'd hear stories of yogas and ascetics. I'd been barefooting by that time. I was training as a barefoot athlete. But then I wanted to become a barefoot ascetic. I wanted to be up in them caves and really experience, you know, these moving discipline training principles. I wanted to experience them for myself. So I get up there and your creativity begins to flow. You begin to create, how can I create movements that will work on the shit inside me that I want to detach from? Now my granddaddy had already taught me about stones. When I was a kid and I was pouting, he'd make you hold a stone up, a big one, and you just sit there and hold it and start shaking. Can't hold it any longer. And then he'd say, let it go, let it go. And I'd go. And he says, you feel that? That's detachment. Strength is about detachment. And I was listening to a lot of intelligent, highly advanced people are on all states of higher consciousness shit talking about detachment. And yet the most physical way of training it to me was get strong. Because strength showed itself to me to be three things. You grip, you hold, you release. You grip, you hold, you release. So when I started running up to a barbell, I come down out of the mountains to my main camp and have my gear. If I walk up to a barbell, you know, get up there, lift the thing, you know, then I release it. Yeah, it was good to walk away. I started looking at the fact I have a grip. And I say the word yoish, and what that word yoish means to me, and I learned from my sensei, was I don't know, it may be too heavy. I don't know if I can pick it up. I don't know if I will be able to get it up. I don't know if I'm going to win or lose in that moment. Yoish means I'm going to participate and find out. So when I gauge another human being and I come up, I go, yoish. You know, I was on a TV show and I said yoish a lot, and people, I'll tell you the other meaning of yoish. People would say, what does yoish mean? I said, well, it means that what I just told you. But my dad, 35 years in the Marine Corps, 29 decorations, 3 wars. And my dad said to me, he hated the fuck word. He said, will you quit saying the fuck word? Now, my uncles were always saying fuck. And he said, will you quit? Marines are just known for the word fuck, and so are you sailors. And so it was like, you know, okay. And he says, instead of say fuck, say yoish. He said, you say that word yoish. And so that word yoish, people say, what does it mean? It means, well, hello, goodbye, I understand, you're full of shit, fuck you. I got one word that just, and even for the moments I ain't got it figured out yet, I just go, yoish. You know, it just kind of, it keeps me in that place where I'm more of a witness, you know, and I'm just going to show up and participate and be the witness, you know, and witness that. And I want to say this about fitness. Fitness is 2 words to me. It means fit the nest. And nest is what a bird does. A bird makes a nest in a home. So fitness to me is about fitting our nest, fitting our home. And that's been my pursuit for the longest time. So as I started getting into, I followed sticks, I did some rope. And the reason I'm going through this fast, I want you guys to get on the gear and quit standing there and listening to me. But I went to sticks, ropes started showing to me, stones, and all the ways you could do stones, you know, and you have half circles. This way you got full circles this way. And if you notice this about full circles, and the way I use them, if I got an idea on this side and it's going this direction, and I have a concept on this side and it's going this direction, they are trying to get, this stone is trying to get this one to go that way with this idea. This one's trying to get this one to go this way with this idea. And the way they do that is you make the figure 8. That's how you get those directions changed. So if I'm going like this, and I make half an 8, I go the opposite direction, and it's fluid and it's flow, so I've integrated those concepts. Is that making sense? Following me? And then the other one is the spiral. I got spirals this way, and then I got spirals the other way. And so if you think of your pattern, if you're doing a curl and you're doing like a half circle that way, well, I got big half circles where I can come out like this. And one of the things about when you get with hammers, big half circle, is I can work its momentum. So as I swing it this way, I can snap it back the other way. I'm working that snap, that pop. And I'm telling you, when you get older, you start losing that snap and that pop. You start losing that spring in your body. So it's like, how do I bring that in? And then when you start working that momentum, now I can just swing around with it, stop that momentum there, and pop it back. It can be a 10-pound hammer. It can be a hand stone. And you are working on that momentum, that stopping it and snapping it back. So sax what I want to do with sacks, carry stuff in them. I gather something, I store it in there. Now everything you can do in the gym and more. As I have this and I'm doing these curls, now I can start doing stuff like this. See it? I can start doing circles. There's just endless what you can do with sacks. And sacking gets into sacking your feet. You begin to sack your feet, build your moccasins. You know, I run in, you know, with my feet get cold, I run in socks, and it's amazing how long socks will last. It's the most flexible footwear that a machine can make. And so putting on those socks and running, I was doing that. Sacking also went into hammocks. And what I found really interesting about hammocks, I build hammocks because one of the things about hammock, sleeping in them, if it's a cold night, the cold will get to you. So I started building lambskin wool ones. And people would go like, well, that's pretty heavy to carry in the mountain. I could always hear my granddad, get strong. You know, you have that pack on your back that gets strong. But the thing about hammocks that I think is good is if you got your yoga postures going on, you know, your floor work, doing it, do it in a hammock. Do it in a hammock. String it up between two trees and really start working on that balance. It's really a challenge, and I wish I had the tree here, but hammocks are great for hanging upside down. And I do a lot, I'll try to show you in the van. My van is rigged up for traveling at places and training. But when you hang upside down, gravity pulls your grin, pulls your lips down, so you start smiling when you're hanging upside down. So it's a really great way to work on your grin. You know, and another discipline to get going as tree limbs is to hook your feet and be able to just hang from your feet from tree limbs and stuff. It's an amazing practice, and I think all that blood rushing to your head and stuff, and you just start grinning and shit, and you see the world upside down, so you get a different view of the world. It really rearranges your thinking and shit. So with the sacks, the philosophy of each of these, one of the key things is you have the grip, the pull, and learning about the pull and how the muscle fibers with ropes work. One of the things that taught me, and I think science and the medical profession back up now, is the muscle only pulls. It does not push. And so when I had a powerlifting coach who taught me, when I get up to here on a clean, think about pulling that weight up, not pushing it up. Think about pulling it up, because then you start using your back. You start using all your muscles. You're aligning your thinking the way the body thinks. If my arm goes out, it's being pulled out. It's not being pushed out. It's being pulled. So I pull in and I pull out. I have leverage. That leverage, sticks teach you leverage. Ropes and stuff teach you pulling. You have stick dancing where two people can dance with sticks. You got rope dancing, they used to call tug of war and stuff. You have dancing with ropes. It's endlessly how you can bring in groups with this. And then you have stones, grounding with stones, learning and training with detachment. The bigger stone I get, the more my muscles and brain understand the feeling of detachment, what it is to release. If I got sadness in me and I want to release it, pick up a stone and remind myself of detachment. If I'm mad, pissed off, got anger, detachment. But also this, if I want to release the glad, if I want to step out in life and release that joy, get strong with stone and detach joy back out into the world. Detach your grin and bring that out. So that's where I go with my training. And then I began to integrate stick and rope. And what can you do with a stick and rope? You make a trapeze. You can lash and build your huts. You know, I build Celtic roundhouses, and they're just sticks with lashing. So there's the integration of stick and rope. There's sewing. The needle is a stick. You have thread, put it together. You're suturing, you're making knots. Sutra, the Yoga Sutras, or suture means sewing, weaving. And then there's integration of stick and stone. As I said, you got wood sticks, you got iron sticks, and then the integration of stick and stone. I used to build these out of wood. The stones, they come from up in the Olympic Mountains. They're basalt, black basalt. It's a fresh, strong stone that was built up in the mountains. I used to do them in wood, but what I want out of this tool is be able to progress with it. So as I develop a routine, say, you know, you got your standard curls like this one tool you have in your vehicle, and the more I throw that out there, the harder it comes to do it. So I am getting progression. Once you've developed and really mastered one tool, then I want to be able to load it. And so the other ones, this one's not built that way, but the other ones I have a opening in them so you can put sand in there as you increase in your movement. And let me say this too about what I've learned about training. You got repetition. You need repetition and repeating motion. You need that. And you pick out your moves, and you develop repetition into a routine. Once you got, you know, if you're not persistent in your training, you just hit and miss. You have to be consistent. You have to be persistent. And so you need your routine. And then it's to shift your routine into a ritual, to where you really start, you know, I trained as an athletic, then an aesthetic, and then I went into the artisan. I want the tool, if I can make the tools that I use, if I can put the art into them. And what does art mean? Think of heart, think of earth. They both contain the word art. Squeeze the heart and the earth words together. You have a hearth, your fire, your internal fire, your own fire pit. They all contain the word art. And as I trained with animals, and what I mean by that was like river otters, learning how to swim down the rivers. You know, they're very flexible. They go with the water, you know, and we're a walking sack of water. So it was like learning how to do that and go over the stones. Training with the elk. I used to, it takes about 3 days to work in with an elk herd and just walk them. I mean, you haven't had a rough night's sleeping until you got some fucking elk snoring beside you. It's just like, you know, just like do something about that, bud. But they'll dap you, see you no threat. And the key ones that run the elk herds around are the mamas. It's the grandmamas. They know where the food is. They got the young on their mind. What do the bulls do? The bulls take off and go farther. That's what the meaning of I think the Celts meant when they put our words down into father. Father means goes farther. They go out. They get the food, bring it back. They bring the iron, the meat, the food back into the mother because they got the young. And so you watch an elk, they'll get out there and just training in the mountains, moving and getting their bodies, and they grow tree limbs on their fucking head. I mean, wouldn't you like to be able to do? I would just love to be able to grow tree limbs on my head. And then when they get together, they do these wrestling matches. And so my brothers and I used to go out and find elk ruts that are in the gravel pits and stuff where these elk have just just massive pushing. I've seen elk rut snap alder trees that big. That's how powerful they are. And so we would get in there and wrestle. And we're wrestling to build the energy. I don't think they'll say like, well, this elk's doing that to show who's the dominant bull, who's the toughest bull on the block, because he gets all the pussy, right? That's what the bull elk's about. It's not what I saw. You got the bull elks, they got some energy and shit. But that bull elk can be over there eating, and here comes this young elk comes in there and gets him some. So, you know, I don't see that being the thing. I think they're building energy. They're building their strength up. Their strength for their herd. Their strength for their herd is strong, and they bring that element into it. And that's, I think strength is so important. We bring that back into our communities. We start growing strength. That's why I ride around the van, pull off on the road and the freeway, start swinging hammers and shit. And, you know, here come these obese guys coming in, you know, and I get them stretching. They got fat on them. And what is fat? It's storage. It's a story. And how do you make story? You gather, you store, and then you release. That's what a story is. That's what storage is. And they got all this fat on them. And it's a story to be released. And how do you release it? I tell them, pick up a stick, get a rope, get a stone, get your feet going and move it. Find the ways to start releasing that story. So where am I at? So you got stick, rope, stone, sack. You got stick and ropes, doing that. Then you have hammers, stone, and stick. And then you have stick, stone, and rope. And stick, stone, and rope is archery. You have a stick, you have a rope, and your arrowhead's your stone. And with this archery comes a philosophy: 3 feathers. There's a way to shoot with just 2 feathers, so your shot goes off. With shooting for 3 is to keep that point on alignment. That 3 is an alignment tool. And as I train with that alignment tool, I found that 3 in my body. I land my left foot, lands my right brain. I land my right foot, it lands my left brain, and there's a middle brain. And you guys gather in here, I want to show you on my chalkboard. This sound, you, what's it look like?
A horseshoe? Horseshoe.
Yeah, or a cup. You got to use the cup. Now you've heard the saying, you know, empty your cup. Your cup is full, your storage packed, you got to empty it. It's a U, empty your cup. I think when the old ones were drawing sounds down into words, the old Celts and Nordics, this is what they were looking at. And why do I think that? If I turn that U on its side, I have a C. Means catch, right? We're using the word scoop, S-C, I scoop things up. If I'm scooping in to get my water, when I turn it up again, I have the U, right? C-U, and then I have the I with the U up here at the top. The person, you drinking it. It's your cup. And so when they were drawing sounds, yeah.
That's what, okay.
Yeah, it's a person.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, you drink that water, then what happens? Stick a leg out, you got an R, go for a run. You know, they're drawing sounds down into words. And let's go further with a U. What is that? W. 2 U's. Where do we use it?
We.
Woman, we, womb. A woman has 2 U's.
Yeah.
There's her and the baby. 2 U's. And then you got, flip that W over, you got an M, right? And that's actually an ancient Arabic symbol that means mountain, movement, motion. Farther, goes out. When that M hits here, what do you got? Huh? Yeah, I spent a long time in the mountains, so I was like, just what does these symbols mean? What are they trying to say? Run. And so it's, you know, filling your cup and those U's. Now the other things we deal with tree is I'm really onto this tree to get alignment and understanding. There is the I. And another way to sound the word I is I. And so you have two E's, two I's. They move in the same direction, two E's. You have one line of thought that comes down, two lines of thought come down into the I. The I, and your eyes move around like that. Even if you draw the E in this symbol, you have your peripheral vision and then your close, tight vision. And the reason I'm pointing this out is I think this morning was a really good sign, a practice of studying the four directions. As I said, I train in repetition, routine, and ritual. But one of the things I think is so important that the Buddha talked about, you see the Buddha coming down the road, you fucking kill it. You kill the ritual. Rituals have a danger in becoming dogmatic. They get really dogmatic. They form religions where everybody's walking around and say, okay, you know, honor the earth. No, you have to move your hand in this way. You know, the rituals, you know, it's, and so I'm real, well, I'm a Dodge for one thing, so I dodge when a ritual gets a little too dogmatic for me. I just want to stand back because I want that flow. I want the heart feeling, the sacredness, but I have learned to kill the ritual. So if my routine, you know, I don't care what you do. If you sit on your ass all the time, you do one yoga pose all the time, you do one weightlifting thing all the time, it will break you down. It will tear you down. You will fall apart. You need diversity. The earth says diversity. So it's knowing in your repetition, I got my routine down. When I start to ritualize it, I've got some skills developed there. But you hang around in that ritualizing, you start walking around to people and, you know, I got hammers and I was trying to hit people to take off their fucking shoes. You know, you get too ritualized and so you got to learn to kill it. So like this morning, I think opportune time to me is I was trying to figure out the alphabet, the language that I use. I want to be sacred with it. There's the Patanjali Sutras, Atha Yoga Nusananam. I studied them, I studied their sounds. And I was trying to figure out how do I break down the alphabet. And so I want you to think about the four directions, east, south, west, north, right? The common symbol in each one of those is the symbol T. You have it in each one of the words. You have it in the word east, south, west, and north. What is a T? We use it in the word town. See this? We use it in the word town, not down here. We use it up here. We use it in the word toe, tongue, transcend, train. It's a marker. And we put this marker down in the four directions. We mark it in the east, south, west, and north. Now after a cold night, and this is in the old growth, and I was experiencing it this morning. Because last night I was doing cold weather training. I like ice soaking, glacial soaking. But I like to lay down on my fleece, butt naked, and try to take the cold. Long endurance cold. Not the short shot where you get in and do that. Lay for a long time, because I have been in some cold places and my teeth are just shattering. And how do I take that on? What disciplines do I use to get myself warm? How do I build my internal fire? So this I started this morning. What's the first thing I want to see in a dark night in the forest? You are looking for that sun. You are looking for sunlight. your eye, which if we look, where are my T's at here? I put my E here. I am looking for that sun. I'm looking for that light. And when I see it, the A symbol, awareness. Here comes that light. And what's coming? The S. And so that S. Now, why would they draw that S symbol down, huh? Why would they draw that S symbol in there? And I ran and I quested with it, and it took me 1 year. If you take this stick, same time, every day, come out, it will mark out the pattern of the sun going south and north. It will mark it out. I've done it. And it will mark out that pattern. The sun goes south, then it comes back up to a certain spot. And if you turn this S on its side, you have the sun. Even if you write the word S and you have a U and an N, you have sun. And you can go back and you can find these symbols, and I found them in ancient Norse, and so I realized that the sun was the S. So I have the E, the A, the sun. I marked that spot, the T. Well, the E isn't down in the south, right? But it is in the west. And so is the S. And the S is in the west as well. So the sun is setting. We watch the sun rise, we watch it set, and our ancestors marked that down. They would mark out their directions that way. And they knew in the south you have the S. The S is in the south, but you don't have it in the north. The S is not in the north. And so mapping out these directions and stuff, by finding the symbols that they use, I began to understand my alphabet. I began to understand the language that I use. And it led me into not being able to communicate with people. Because I was getting into a different use of language. And the ones I could communicate with were ones I would hear a different language from. But that's not good for me. I'm glad they got their language and word on things. I want my language. I want to feel strong and understanding from my words that flow out of my mouth. That's why I was describing like posture. Asana's good. It's got atha.